Hello and welcome. I am very excited to talk to you all today a little bit about estate taxes. Now, I know thinking through these things is not always everyone's favorite topic, but on a positive side, thanks to the big, beautiful bill and this current administration, President Trump has given us a gift. Not only do we have the $15 million tax exemption for estates per person, meaning a married couple can pass $30 million on estate tax free to their children, it has been formalized, it's been codified in there, so it's now considered permanent. Now, as I'd mentioned in a previous video, there's always the potential of things changing, but this is not due to expire in 2 years or 5 years or anything along those lines. So on the federal side, you've now got this massive blessing where we can pass on 30 million, and this is going to index up for inflation before you have to worry about federal estate taxes. Now, one thing I would like to mention here is that doesn't apply to state taxes. There are still states that do impose an estate tax or a death tax, some people call it. That varies from state to state. For example, New York has one. There's about 38 states that do not, but there are a handful that do. One thing I would keep in mind here is that this does not mean we should ignore taxes when considering our estate and wealth transfer and that generational blessing we're trying to create. When you think about these things, the taxability of different money types, for example, IRA accounts, although you don't have to pay taxes from an estate perspective, when a beneficiary receives that IRA account, they have 10 years to withdraw those funds, keeping in mind that they have now imposed an RMD on an annual basis. Now, this was something that took effect in the Secure Act and then the Secure Act 2.0, but they weren't enforcing it until 2025. But now they are. So for those of you that are inheriting an IRA account, you have 10 years to withdraw those funds, keeping in mind that those are going to be incurring income taxes. That can also have an impact when it comes to other things, but we've got those other exemptions and deductions that I mentioned before. Again, this is a positive thing, but we do want to make sure we're keeping track of where we stand in those tax brackets to maximize some of these deductions and some of these things of that. Now, one last thing I would like to mention is when people think about estate planning, I think it's important not just to think about the estate tax, but also to keep in mind when we're passing on this wealth, sometimes people want to do it in a way that we're avoiding any kind of long-term care considerations or the spend down. That's something that comes up. I would just encourage you to have a conversation and think through what are we trying to accomplish. One of the number one things I've seen is folks that will change the deed of a home into someone else's name. But remember, if you do this, you're passing along your cost basis as well. Meaning if they were to sell that home in the future, they may incur a much larger tax bill than they would have if they had inherited it and received a step up in cost basis. The same thing can hold true for stocks and things of that nature. So when I say this, I just want to bring this up to say the positive here is that federal estate tax limit, like I said, it's up to the 15 million per individual. Also, that's the same number that you can gift while you're living. And so just remember, if you're doing large gifts over $19,000, those do have to be recorded, and it does count against what you can leave from an estate tax perspective. But if you wanted to leave your child or gift your child rather more than 19,000 in a single year, let's say they're purchasing a home and you want to help with the down payment or something along those lines, you can do it. There's just a couple key things you want to keep in mind. So as I say that, I would just encourage you that this has been a minor change. It's not a radical shift from where we were before, but it is nice to be aware of. And I would just say that as we're considering this, don't lose sight of that bigger picture and realize that even though your estate tax, you might be under that estate tax limit, that doesn't mean there's no taxes or potential taxes that your family could incur. So let's just try and be smart and think through things as critically as we can. Because like I've said before, and I'll say it again, we're going to pay the taxes that we owe, but there's no reason to pay any more than we have to. I hope you all find this beneficial. I love doing these things. And thanks for listening. Have a beautiful day.